Thanks for all your comments, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it. Good and bad, most interesting. You're very welcome to make a comment on any or all of these segments that we do on Facebook. The Court of Public Opinion, we call it, from the garage. Pete and I present what we hope are, thought-provoking mind droppings. It's a way, I suppose, in a sense, for me to, how I've left radio, to keep my mind working and thinking and caring and talking. But the one thing I do miss, of course, is the interaction, immediate interaction that you can get on radio. But anyway, that's a chapter that at the moment, anyway, is closed. We'll see. Happy birthday if you're having a birthday. Happy wedding anniversary. It's February the 8th. John Williams was born in 1932. Does the name ring a bell? I could play you any number of songs that he has written and you would know them immediately. He's been an American composer responsible for some of the most recognizable film scores, particularly, or themes, the world has ever seen. Jaws, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Indiana Jones, E.T., you could go on forever. Born in New York, John Williams. Mary Queen of Scots is beheaded. She was 44, convicted of plotting to assassinate Queen Elizabeth I. 1587. 1587. Jack Lemmon was born. He's a great actor. I don't know if you've ever seen a movie called The Apartment. Have you? Did you ever see that, Pete?
Not as I recall, no.
Oh, it's a wonderful. It's a comedy.
Oh, dear. I've seen some funny ones with him.
It's about in the 60s, I think, and he... who was his leading lady? I think it was Shirley MacLaine. But if ever you get a chance to see The Apartment, it's a great piece of music, and don't ask me who wrote that. I know that Ferranti and Taisha played it on the soundtrack. I don't know who wrote it, but the theme from The Apartment is a great piece of music. Jack Lemmon, but he starred in all sorts of wonderful things. Days of Wine and Roses, Irma la Douce, Some Like It Hot, Grumpy Old Men, that was good. And Margaret was in that as well. Born in Boston, died in 2001. He was born in 1925. For the first time, 8 people were in space in 1984. 1984. They obviously never saw Lost in Space, Pete, because there was a whole family up there then. And the robot. Yeah. What are they talking about? Jules Verne, the science fiction writer, the father of science fiction, was born in France in 1828. The Disney Brothers cartoon studio became Walt Disney Studios on this day in 1926. The prize stallion and Derby winner, Shergar, kidnapped in Ireland, never to be found. Lloyd's of London paid out $10.6 million in insurance. The idea was that they were going to kidnap and ransom the horse, but I don't know. They never found the horse. The first all-metal, the year, by the way, was 1983. The first all-metal Boeing 247. 1933 made its flight. I suppose they thought to themselves, well, they've been making them out of wood mostly before, so one that's certainly heavier than air, make it all out of metal. James Dean, the American actor and cultural icon, giant, rebel without a cause, first actor to be, after he died, nominated for the Best Actor Academy Award. Born in Indiana, died in 1955. Born in 1931, died in a, what was it, a Porsche Spider, I think. Porsche Spider. Silver Porsche Spider. John Williams, or John Lyons, I'm sorry, the British industrialist. Fancy me mucking up his name. Gee, no. Sir William Lyons was one of the great industrialists and makers of automobiles the world has ever known. I've got examples of his fantastic genius over here. There is a E-Type Jaguar, 1961, and a 1956 XK150 over there, both designed by this brilliant, brilliant man. He certainly knew how to design a pretty car. 1985, he died at the age of 84. Lana Turner, American pin-up model and actress, Peyton Place, the postman always rings twice. What else did she do? Imitation of Life. Anyway, she was born in Idaho, died in 1995, born in 1921. And I hope if it's a day of celebration for you, a birthday or whatever, it's going to be a great day. When you look at donations, as pretty much every year the Electoral Commission looks at political donations, it's interesting. Political donations. $37 million was given to the Labour Party by the trade union movement. $37 million, most of that coming from the CFMEU. CFMEU would be the most militant, some would say the most notorious trade union in Australia. Keep in mind, of course, that the trade union movement doesn't pay any taxes whatsoever. Yet I think when one pays his or her union dues, they are tax deductible. Interesting. One of the first things that the new Labor government did when it came to power was to get rid of the construction cop on the beat. This was the guy who was responsible for keeping law and order on the building sites, the construction sites of Australia. We couldn't have that, could we? No. There's no problem, of course, with unions making political donations. It is a fact, of course, though, that people, not everyone who belongs to a union is a Labor Party supporter. So, I mean, I don't know how far you'd get if you said to the union, well, I'd like my contribution to the trade union movement, if it's going to a political party, to go to a different political party. I don't think you'd get very far with that. But, you know, so much for the kind of freedom that we would enjoy if we had the likes of the CFMEU running the country, more than it's running the country now, that is. It's been revealed that fraudsters cheat us out of about $1 million a day here in Australia. That is about $4 billion a year. $4 billion last year alone. I'll come back and give you an example of something that's right underneath our nose in a little while, which I regard as a scam, but seems to be quite acceptable. You just have to be on your guard. Treat everything, particularly the internet, as a scam. But even phone calls that you get, you can't rely on the fact that the person who says he's phoning you is actually who he says he is. You just have to be really careful. Really careful. A couple of TV predictions. Why not? Channel 10's newest program, which is called The Taskmaster, heavily promoted, but isn't everything. I predict it will disappear as quickly as it appeared. The thing that worries me is that if I can see that it's crap, why can't they? What do they really think of us if they think we think that's okay, entertaining? I don't know. I really don't know. Sadly, the New Look project also is not rating. It's rating very poorly, worse than the news. Channel 10 News, and I must tell you that it doesn't get much worse than that. But when you move your Adelaide newsroom to another state and then pretend you haven't, I don't know what else you can possibly expect. Making the news in Adelaide is another interesting little story. They've told us that we are no longer allowed to let our dogs off the lead in Victoria Park. You and Katie would have a bit of a problem.
We would.
You would. There's nothing more joyful than a dog coming off the lead and taking off. Well, no longer in Victoria Park. Although apparently there is some sort of period of appeal, meaning I guess they're prepared to take on board reasonable arguments. This, by the way, Victoria Park, if you don't know South Australia, it's a great stretch of land just outside the city. We really do regard our parklands, which ring the entire city, as being really important, sacred almost, our sacred site. It's kind of like the lungs. It's the breathing mechanism of a city. Every city really should have such a mechanism. Now, the reason I bring it up is that just outside the city, we're blessed to have this great stretch of land. They have placed a new and spectacular wetlands. Very attractive, I must say, and not cheap to install or create or recreate. In this day and age, I would have thought that that would be the part of the story about Victoria Park that would be newsworthy. Not that the dogs can't run free. The real story that at great public expense, this very environmentally sensitive council, and bless them for that, they have created a huge source of methane gas, which is the worst greenhouse gas in existence. Wetlands are the great problem when it comes to methane gas pollution. 50% of the global problem is in fact caused by wetlands. Now, while they are running around on electric scooters, I'm talking about the council, while the council is running around on electric scooters trying to save the planet, I really wonder why they haven't cottoned on to the connection between creating the wetlands and the problem of methane. Maybe nobody's told them. Or they've chosen, weighing up the great issues, dogs running free in Victoria Park, or the production of lethal, dangerous methane gas. Looks like the gas won. Dogs lost. The t-shirt featuring Coco Pops. Do you remember Coco Pops?
I still eat them.
You still eat them? Ah dear. Coco Pops, Fruit Loops, Rice Bubbles, Snap, Crackle and Pop. Crazy people out there want to ban them because they're not good for children. The t-shirts or the breakfast cereal, I wonder? Probably both. Probably both. I grew up with sugar frosties and cornflakes and wheat bix and Vitabrits. My whole generation grew up. Pete is still growing up. We grew up with sugar, despite sugar. I swear, people go to more trouble about sugar than they do about cocaine and heroin and a whole bunch of other things that you can go down and freely acquire on Hindley Street any time of the day or night. It's weird. The fastest and equal largest move in house prices in the history of Australia. Sydney house prices down 13%, Melbourne down 9%, Adelaide only down 2.1%. you've got to actually look at the increases as well as the decreases. To be fair, Sydney went up in this last blip 27%, Brisbane went up 42%, Adelaide went up 44%, and, you know, as we all know, what goes up must come down, or usually does. And yes, house prices might come down even further. And that's good. Good. It's not a headline. It's not even a news story. It is the ordinary ebb and flow of the economic world in which we live. I wish they'd forget all this shock horror stuff. This is shock horror. $171 million was spent by Clive Palmer on the last election. And he won, well, sort of won, one Senate seat. Money can't buy me love. Senator Pocock, the Canberra, the ACT senator, I won't say he, but his campaign spent $1 million. And they won the seat. $1 million to win one Senate seat. Now, you might not think that terribly good value for money. I don't know. I'm not a politician. But for Clive Palmer to spend $171 million and sort of win one Senate seat, you have to scratch your head about his political acumen. I know. But I will leave you with this. The robo-debt Royal Commission rumbles on. They're all very expensive things, Royal Commissions, you know. Lawyers' picnics, so why not keep it going? I was listening to some of the stuff that came up last week. I was interested. Commissioner Holmes questioning the then Minister, Alan Tudge. How could you not have known that this robo-debt thing was not legal? How could you possibly not have known? Well, Commissioner, we could just as easily go back a few years and ask the then Attorney General, Tanya Plibersek, why did she not know that the law that had fined and imprisoned dozens of mostly women, driven some to suicide, for crimes against Centrelink? They were Centrelink fraudsters. All the television current affairs programs ran the stories heavily. I remember, I think it was Current Affair, they had a kind of a Brady Bunch thing on the screen with all of the pictures of the great Centrelink fraudsters of Australia. Humiliated? Yes. Unjustly? Yes. No apologies, of course. Well, why didn't Tanya Plibersek know that the law that fined and imprisoned and humiliated these women did not even exist? It was only Michael Abbott who revealed it. Again, the Royal Commission, this current Royal Commission, said, a minister must take responsibility for the conduct of his or her department. Have you ever heard the media talk about the incident involving the then Labour government and Tanya Plibersek, where people were involved in a crime that didn't exist? And when the High Court of Australia made its decision on that matter, the night before it was handed down, the decision, the law was changed retrospectively. And yet, nobody, apart from me, I was on the air at AA at the time, nobody but me brought it to the public attention. Quite extraordinary, and I put it to you, very unfair. I got a great story, but it'll have to wait till tomorrow, on why they want to ban bingo. Bingo. Right. It seems that bingo is a gateway drug. You know how they say heroin is a gateway, or marijuana is a gateway drug to heroin. Well, apparently bingo is a gateway to hell, God knows. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Believe in yourself. And we will see you tomorrow.